The sun was going down, and the sky was a soft orange color. I sat on my bed and looked at my new clothes. They were laying on the chair, ready for tomorrow. Tomorrow was not just any day. Tomorrow was my first day at my new job. I worked very hard to get this job. I remembered the 3 interviews I had. I remembered how nervous I felt when the manager called me to say, "You are hired." I was so happy that day. I danced in my kitchen. But now, the night before my first day, I did not feel like dancing. I felt a little bit scared. My mind was full of questions. What if I am late? What if I don't understand the tasks? What if my coworkers don't like me? I looked at my phone. It was only 9 p.m., but I wanted to sleep. I knew I needed to rest. I went to the kitchen and made a cup of herbal tea. The warm cup felt good in my hands. I told myself, it is okay to be nervous. Everyone is nervous on their first day. I took a deep breath. I breathed in slowly, and I breathed out slowly. This helped me feel a little better. I checked my alarm clock 3 times. I set it for 6:30 a.m. I wanted to have plenty of time. I did not want to rush. I wanted to have a calm morning. I put my phone on the table and turned off the lights. The room was dark and quiet. I stayed awake for a long time, thinking about my new office. I imagined a big desk and a comfortable chair. I imagined meeting my new boss, Sarah. She seemed very kind during the interview. Finally, my eyes felt heavy, and I fell asleep. I dreamed about white corridors and the sound of people typing on keyboards. Beep, beep, beep. The sound of my alarm clock woke me up. I jumped out of bed immediately. I did not press the snooze button. Not today. Today was too important. I opened my curtains and saw the sun. It was a beautiful, clear morning. This felt like a good sign. I went to the bathroom and splashed cold water on my face. The water was refreshing. It helped me wake up. I looked at myself in the mirror. I looked a bit tired, but I also looked excited. I smiled at my reflection. "You can do this," I whispered. Next, I went to the kitchen. I usually only drink coffee, but today I decided to eat a good breakfast. I made some toast with eggs. I knew I needed energy for the long day. While I ate, I checked the weather on my phone. It was going to be a warm day. I was glad I chose a light shirt. After breakfast, it was time to get dressed. I put on my new dark blue trousers and a white shirt. I looked professional. I brushed my hair carefully. I checked my bag one more time. I had my notebook, 2 pens, my wallet, and my house keys. Everything was ready. I left my apartment at 7:45 a.m. The air was cool and fresh. I walked to the bus stop. I saw many other people waiting for the bus. They were looking at their phones or reading newspapers. I wondered if any of them were starting a new job today too. When the bus arrived, I found a seat near the window. I watched the city go by. I saw shops opening and people walking fast. The bus was crowded, but I didn't mind. I was busy thinking about the office. I took a deep breath again. My heart was beating a little fast, but it was a happy kind of fast. I was ready to start my new journey. The bus stopped in front of a tall, modern building made of glass and steel. I looked up. It was so high. This was the place. This was my new workplace. I felt a mix of excitement and fear. I walked through the large glass doors. The lobby was very clean and shiny. There was a big desk in the middle with a receptionist. I walked toward her. My shoes made a clicking sound on the floor. "Good morning," I said. My voice was a little shaky. "My name is Thomas. It is my first day. I am here to meet Sarah from the marketing department." The receptionist smiled kindly. She had a very friendly face. "Welcome, Thomas. We were expecting you. Please sign your name here and I will give you your security badge." I signed the book and she handed me a plastic card with my name and photo on it. I put the badge around my neck. It made me feel like I truly belonged there. She told me to go to the 5th floor. I walked to the elevators. There were 4 of them. When the door opened, I stepped inside. I pressed the button for the number 5. As the elevator went up, I looked at myself in the silver walls. I fixed my collar and took one last deep breath. The doors opened. The fifth floor was busy. I saw rows of desks and many computers. People were talking on phones and walking with papers. It smelled like fresh coffee and printer paper. A woman walked toward me. It was Sarah, my manager. She was wearing a green dress and had a big smile. "Thomas, you're here," she said. She shook my hand firmly. "We are so happy to have you on the team. Come with me. I will show you your desk." I followed Sarah through the office. We passed many people. Sarah introduced me to a few of them as we walked. "This is Mark. He is our lead designer. And this is Emily. She manages our social media," Sarah said. Everyone was very polite. They said hi or welcome to the team. I tried to remember all their names, but it was difficult. There were so many new faces. Finally, we reached a desk in the corner near a big window. "This is your spot," Sarah said. On the desk, there was a new computer, a black chair, and a small plant in a pot. There was also a welcome card signed by the whole team. I felt a warm feeling in my heart. They were waiting for me. They wanted me to be there. "Take 20 minutes to get comfortable," Sarah said. "Then I will come back and we will start your training. Here is your login information for the computer." She handed me a piece of paper and walked away to her office. I sat down in my new chair. It was very comfortable. I looked out the window. I could see the park across the street. It was a great view. I started to set up my space. I put my notebook and pens on the desk. I turned on the computer. I felt a little nervous about the technology. What if I forgot how to use the software? I typed in my username and password very carefully. It worked. The screen opened to a beautiful wallpaper of a mountain. I spent a few minutes looking at the company's internal website. I read about the company's history and the current projects. I wanted to learn as much as possible. I was a little worried about making mistakes, but I also felt ready to learn. I was no longer just a visitor. I was an employee. A little later, Sarah came back to my desk. She was carrying a thick folder and a laptop. "Are you ready to start, Thomas?" she asked. "Yes, I'm ready," I replied. She sat down next to me and started to explain my first task. I had to organize some data in a spreadsheet. It was not a very difficult task, but it was important. She showed me where the files were on the computer. She explained how to enter the information and how to save the work. I listened very carefully. I took many notes in my new notebook. I wrote down the names of the files and the steps I needed to follow. I didn't want to ask the same question twice. "Do you have any questions?" Sarah asked after she finished explaining. I looked at my notes. "Just one," I said. "Where do I save the final file?" "Good question," she said. "Save it in the folder labeled October Projects. I'll leave you to it. Don't worry if you go slowly. Accuracy is more important than speed today." She left, and I started working. I looked at the screen. The numbers and names were a bit confusing at first. I felt a small moment of panic. What if I pressed the wrong button, I thought. I stopped for a second and looked at my plant. It looked calm. I decided to be calm too. I started typing. Click, click, click. The sound of the keyboard was very satisfying. I checked every line twice. I wanted it to be perfect. After an hour, I was halfway finished. I was starting to feel more confident. The software was similar to what I used in my old job. I realized that I knew more than I thought. Around 11:30 a.m., something happened. I was trying to move a group of names to a different column. I clicked a button and suddenly all the information disappeared. The screen was empty. My heart stopped. My hands started to sweat. Oh no, I thought. I deleted everything. My first day and I already broke the system. I felt a wave of embarrassment. I wanted to hide under my desk. I looked around. No one was looking at me. Everyone was busy with their own work. I tried to press undo, but nothing happened. I tried it again. Still nothing. I knew I had to ask for help. I was afraid Sarah would be disappointed. I walked slowly to her office. Sarah, I have a small problem, I said quietly. What's wrong, Thomas? She asked, looking up from her screen. I think I deleted the data in the spreadsheet, I said. I felt like a child who had broken a toy. Sarah didn't look angry. She actually smiled a little. Don't worry, Thomas. That happens to everyone. Let's go look at it. She came to my desk, she clicked a few buttons, and navigated to a different menu. See? It's not deleted. You just changed the view filter. Here's your work, safe and sound. The data appeared on the screen again. I felt a huge sense of relief. I felt like I could breathe again. Thank you so much, I said. I'm so sorry. Don't be sorry, Sarah said, kindly. It's your first day. You are here to learn. If you don't make mistakes, you aren't learning. Just keep going. I felt much better after that. I learned that my manager was patient and that a mistake was not the end of the world. I went back to work with a smile on my face. At 12:30 p.m., Emily, the social media manager, walked over to my desk. Hey, Thomas, are you hungry? A group of us are going to the cafeteria for lunch. Would you like to join us? I was a little nervous about socializing, but I knew it was important. Yes, I would love to join you, I said. We walked down to the second floor. The cafeteria was big and bright. It smelled like toasted bread and soup. There were many tables and a long line of people waiting for food. I bought a chicken sandwich and a bottle of water. I sat down at a round table with Emily, Mark, and another coworker named David. So, Thomas, how's your first morning going? Mark asked. It's going well, I said. I learned how to use the database, and I also learned how to recover lost data. They all laughed. Oh, did you have a filter problem? Emily asked. I did the same thing on my first day. I actually cried because I thought I would be fired. Hearing their stories made me feel so much more comfortable. They weren't just coworkers, they were real people who also had nerves and made mistakes. We talked about things outside of work too. David liked hiking and Emily had 2 cats. I told them about my hobby of cooking. We laughed and talked for 45 minutes. For the first time that day, I forgot to be nervous. I felt like I was among friends. When we finished lunch, we walked back to the elevators together. I felt a sense of belonging. I wasn't the new guy anymore. I was Thomas, the person who likes cooking and works in marketing. The afternoon was busier than the morning. Sarah gave me a few more small tasks. I had to reply to some basic emails and attend a short team meeting. In the meeting, I mostly listened. The team discussed the plans for the next month. They talked about deadlines, strategies, and targets. Some of the words were new to me, so I wrote them down in my notebook to look up later. At one point, Sarah asked, Thomas, do you have any thoughts on this? My heart jumped. I wasn't expecting to speak. I thought for a moment. I think the colors in the new advertisement are very bright and catchy, I said. They make me feel happy when I look at them. That's a great point, Thomas, Mark said. We wanted to create a positive feeling. I felt proud. My opinion mattered. Even on my first day, I was able to contribute something small. After the meeting, I went back to my desk. I finished a spreadsheet I started in the morning. I checked it 3 times to be sure there were no errors. Then I sent it to Sarah. Done, I whispered to myself. The rest of the afternoon passed quickly. I spent some time organizing my email inbox and setting up my calendar. I saw that I had more training sessions scheduled for the rest of the week. I felt excited about them. I wanted to learn everything. Around 4:30 p.m., I started to feel a little tired. It was a lot of new information for one day. My brain felt full. I went to the kitchen and got a glass of water. I stood by the window for a minute and watched the cars below. I felt a sense of accomplishment. I survived the first day. At 5 p.m., people started to pack their bags. The office became a little quieter. Sarah came by my desk one last time. Great job today, Thomas, she said. You did a lot for your first day. Go home and get some rest. We will see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Thank you, Sarah, I said. I really enjoyed it. I turned off my computer and cleaned my desk. I put my notebook in my bag. I said goodbye to Emily and Mark. See you tomorrow, Thomas, they shouted. I walked out of the building and into the evening air. The sun was low in the sky again. The city felt different than it did in the morning. It felt more familiar. As I walked to the bus stop, I thought about the day. I thought about my nerves in the morning and my mistake with the spreadsheet. I thought about the nice lunch with my new friends and the meeting where I shared my opinion. I realized that being new is not a bad thing. It is a time for growth. I learned that it is okay to ask for help. I learned that people are generally kind and helpful. Most importantly, I learned that I am capable of doing this job. I got on the bus and found a seat. I was tired, but it was a good kind of tired. It was the tiredness of a day well spent. I looked at my reflection in the window and smiled. I felt confident. I felt happy. When I got home, I took off my professional shoes and put on my comfortable slippers. I made a simple dinner and sat on my sofa. I didn't feel scared about tomorrow anymore. I felt ready. I realized that every expert was once a beginner. Today, I was a beginner. Tomorrow, I will be a little bit better. And the day after that, even better. This was the start of a great new chapter in my life. I closed my eyes and felt a deep sense of peace. I did it. I finished my first day.